Welcome to Running Down the Clock, where we break down all of this week's big news, events, and controversies from the National Football League. Over the next 45 minutes, we will give you basic fan perspective and opinion on the most important stories and moments happening now. So, let's start the clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Down the Clock. I am Tyler Walzig. I'm here with Poya Ricey. Poya, we were just talking about something I wanted to press record because you said something I didn't think you were going to say. David Carr, former number one overall pick for the Houston Texans, older brother of your favorite guy in the entire world, Derek Carr, has come out and said that the Philly Eagles should sit Jalen Hurts and start Marcus Mariota. Now, you said, why not? What's the difference? Continue what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, the Eagles are just chasing that first seed for the bye, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They're probably going to win their division, even if they play Mariota, no?
I mean, no.
They did the same thing with Minshew last year, did they not?
They're only one game ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. And they play the Cowboys this weekend.
They play the Cowboys this week.
If they lose to the Cowboys, they no longer win the division.
Okay, so what was David Carr's thought? They just sit him this week or they sit him the rest of the season?
They sit him for as long as it takes for him to get healthy.
Which isn't that not always the worst? I'm not saying support David Carr's idea here, but letting your guy get healthy isn't for the playoff run, which you know you're making the playoffs. Isn't that not a better idea?
Don't you want home field advantage? Isn't home field advantage in the NFL absolutely huge?
It is. What's bigger, having a healthy QB? What would you trade? Home field advantage with a injured QB? Well, not injured, but resting in what do you call it? Nursing an injury, or home field advantage? Sorry, or having a healthy QB and no home field advantage.
I mean,
what would you take if you could just pick one or the other, black and white options?
I want both. I want both. Yeah. I want both. You got to keep playing him now. And then depending on the rest, there's only week 14. There's 5 games left. So you got to make sure that you win at least 3 more games, then sit him for the last 2 games of the season, maybe.
I agree. There's no way they do sit him.
No, it's stupid.
I'm just discussing the merits of the idea. I think if he's a guy, if he can play, he will play. There's no other way around that of what will happen.
Right.
Just discussing the merits of the idea.
So it would immediately make Dallas jump him. So right now it's Eagles, 49ers, Lions, Falcons. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4. Cowboys beat the Eagles. I think they jump up to first. And then if the 49ers win, the Eagles fall down to third. And then they're tied with the Lions if the Lions win this week. Like they could easily fall down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Maybe no, 5th in the standings. And then, yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't make sense. You got to keep playing them. And then if you get the first round bye, then there's your extra week to get them healthy. Yeah. And then maybe by that time you can sit them for the last week of the season and the extra week. Like it just, who is David? Why is David Carr even getting attention at this point?
Yeah, I don't know why it was brought up in the first place by an individual. But here's another thought.
You're talking about me.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it was the news of the day. We always bring up
the news of the day. This is not the news of the day.
So far, it's Tuesday morning. It's been a very slow morning. This is the only thing that's come up on my feed that's been a hot topic.
Right. Now, just to throw you under the bus, because that's what we do to each other. It's actually Wednesday.
Is today Wednesday?
It's today's Wednesday.
Okay, so today's Wednesday.
Because we specifically waited an extra day to try and get some extra news that might have come out between yesterday and today.
Nothing came. Actually, That's not true. There's a bunch of stuff that happened, which we should get into.
Let's get into it.
Now, I'm trying to think of, I had a Patriots stat. And then you had something that you were
points allowed over the last X number of games. You see the top 5 teams with the fewest points in the NFL allowed over the last 9 games, let's say. Patriots are the top of that list with the fewest points allowed, yet
46.
The only ones with an 0-4 record.
Only ones with a losing record. The rest of them are so Patriots 46 points allowed, 0-4. 49ers are
0-4
next
in the
with
last 4.
0-4 in the last 4, yeah.
Yeah.
The 49ers, 49 points allowed, 4-0 in the last 4. Dolphins are next 3-1. Ravens are next 3-1. Colts next 4-0. So that's bad offense, is what that is, right?
It's bad offense, but it's also, I think the games are terrible. Nothing's happening in these games. I didn't watch the game. Tried to watch the highlight reel for the Chargers Patriots game. There's
Yeah.
not really any highlights.
Well, it's because the game was
Couple
6-0.
sacks. There's a couple of sacks. That's
There
it.
was no touchdowns, which is frustrating because how even though they won so the Chargers beat the Patriots 6-0 last week. How does Brandon Staley still have a job after that? Like, that is still a fireable offense, is it not? You didn't score a touchdown. You have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Joshua Kelly. You could say, like, your offense, you have a number 1 wide receiver draft pick, Quentin Johnson, who's apparently very crappy. I don't understand how he still has a job. I thought for sure that if he
Because
lost to the
his
Patriots,
defense held them to 0 points.
but that's like but you have to, like, it's not acceptable.
No, but
You're supposed to be a playoff team.
yeah, I would think the move here is to fire him, promote somebody to see what they can do differently to get a little bit of experience moving into next season, because this season's washed. They're not going anywhere this season.
No, but who do you promote? So
well, that
Brandon
could be it,
Staley's,
that they don't have somebody in mind. The ownership doesn't have somebody in mind that they think should take the reins.
well, I mean, you would, if it was Brandon Staley, who's the defensive play caller and a defensive minded guy, he's your head coach. So your defense is playing well. So if you're going to fire him, the defensive coordinator is like, you don't want him to move because that defense is still decent, right? They just held the Patriots to 0 points, to what you just said. You got to get the offense going. You got to get the offense humming. You got to figure out how you can put points up on the board so you're not losing games by 1 touchdown or 3 points, or winning them by 1 touchdown or 3 points. But that offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, you'd think that he would jump into the head coaching spot because he's had head coaching interviews 2 years ago. However, the offense sucks and it's his fault. So you can't promote him. So whatever you're going to do, you got to try to get a spark from your offense. You're not going to do that unless you bring an outside, but you can't bring somebody outside because you got 4 or 5 games left in the season. You're not going to.
Then that's probably why they haven't
do your
executed anything. They have like a Jim Harbaugh or something. Yeah.
So let's get into this, because Jim Harbaugh is not going to stay at Michigan. That's pretty much well known, basically because there's going to be a bunch of sanctions and a bunch of penalties in NCAA. He can go to the NFL where it doesn't affect him. It just affects all the kids that signed up to go to Michigan. They can leave in the transfer portal. It's not a big deal anymore. But it's between him and seemingly Bill Belichick for the Chargers role. Now, I think it was 3 years ago, I heard that Jim Harbaugh said that he loves Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's his favorite young quarterback in the NFL. Kind of seems like he's kind of going to go to LA Chargers, is he not?
Yeah,
I would take him over Bill.
You did have a whole thing that Belichick might be going there too earlier in the year. So this would all explain why they're not in a rush to make a move, because what's the point? They've already been looking at their guy for next season. This season's over. It's a wash. It also could explain why Staley's not working as hard, because he already knows he's punched his ticket for next year. And so he's kind of lost that extra motivation to try and get this team out of the hole.
But isn't he working towards having a job with anybody in the future? Like, you almost have to wish that he hopes he gets fired, so that because he's looking terrible every single time he's on the sidelines, not knowing what's going on, that he might not get hired again as a coaching position.
Could be. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
You're here to tell people. You can't just say, I don't know.
It's an odd situation. Like, it perplexes me why they're so bad.
I don't understand. To me, this is the weirdest team in the NFL this year, because they had high hopes. Like, they were supposed to be good.
Like, what got worse about them from before, where they were They were kind of a high energy offense. They're putting up points.
Yeah.
Win or lose, they were doing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it's the most frustrating team in the NFL because they didn't lose their quarterback to injury. They're one of the few teams this year that hasn't lost their high profile quarterback to injury, and they still can't put points up. So what is going on? They're like, this team should easily, they're 5-7. They should easily be 7-5 or 8-4. So it's just, I don't know. I don't understand them. I don't know if like maybe Eckler's on his contract year, so he's probably gone next year. I don't know why you'd bring him back. He's having a very bad year. Keenan Allen's getting old, but I mean, he's their best player. You just have to keep feeding him the ball. Justin Herbert is not going anywhere. That's the guy that they're going to build their entire franchise around. So basically, it just comes down to everyone waiting for next year, which is such a waste of Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert in kind of like their prime together because Herbert's only going to get better. Keenan Allen's going to start regressing soon. You got to get a new running back. I don't know because you're not going to pay Eckler, not after what he's doing this year. That whole team is just, it's in shambles. They need a Jim Harbaugh to fix them up.
I think from what you're saying, it's over. Move on from the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so much of my fantasy football team, though. I know nobody cares, but I got Eckler and Keenan Allen. Like, I have to win this week to get in the playoffs, too. I don't think they're going to get it done for me.
No, I don't have faith in them.
No, nobody ever should. Okay, let's talk about, because we had another injury this year. I mentioned.
So I had a thing about you kind of bypassed our most bold notes at the top there, which you had a Patriots stat and I had a point to make about. I even specifically texted you and asked you to remind me.
Why didn't you say it?
Because you sidetracked it to the from the Patriots right to the Chargers, and you went into this whole other bit.
When did I do that?
The entire last 10 minutes. Anyway, the Patriots are bad, yes. Now, you notice nobody feels sorry for them in any way?
I think Patriots fans are even trying to tank.
Well, yeah, but because this is one of those situations, I was looking at it, that sometimes you kind of like, you have a bit of sympathy, not too much sympathy, but you have a bit of sympathy for a team because a player they drafted that, it was a top prospect in the draft didn't work out. Somebody got injured, a couple players they picked up on a big contract, they didn't kind of meet expectations. You can't say any of those things about this Patriots team. No. They have every player that they drafted that didn't work out. They never have any top prospect guys. Nobody that they picked up was supposed to be, okay, this guy's going to change the team around. It didn't work out. This is a team that seems like they didn't go out to do anything at any point in the last few years. And now they're just like, they're reaping in what they sow. This is the fruits of their labor. They didn't do a fucking thing to make this team better over the last few years. All that they've done that was big news is they let Tom Brady go, which is showing now they should have done anything they could have to have kept him because they didn't do anything else. What high profile player did they try to pick up that they didn't get?
Well, the only person that you could say is they drafted Mac Jones in the first round to be their savior. Worked out for them for 1 year. And now he's just trash. Now he's trash.
Right, but Mac Jones wasn't even supposed to be the best quarterback in that draft.
No, but he was a guy that fell to them to where they were. So even if, let's say they brought Tom Brady back and he didn't go to play anywhere else, this would still be a year where they're losing all their games. Right? Because
would it though, or would have Tom Brady had made those demands of, listen, we don't sit idly by. We do this, go get this guy, go get this guy. It seems that nobody.
But he's not playing this year. He retired. Right? So this would have been the same year where they're bad.
Right.
That's what I'm going based off of.
He would have stayed for 2 more years. I see what you're saying. But I'm saying that my point would still be valid of you did nothing to get better. This is like the lazy team that didn't do anything and now you suck. It's a well-deserved you suck.
Yeah. You're not wrong either. Like nobody cares that they're bad. Like no one feels bad for them. This is the fall of the empire and everyone's like, yeah, well, it was bound to happen at some point. So no one's upset that it's like and if the Yankees started losing, like nobody cares. You've had it good for so long.
So my point is that the Yankees is different because the Yankees keep paying big name guys to try and come, and it doesn't always work. They're trying to do something. But no one feels bad for them. Problem.
But no one feels bad for them. Is what I'm saying.
No one feels bad for them. I'm saying that in addition to that, the Patriots, it didn't seem like they actually tried to do anything, make a major splash to get better.
I'm trying to think of the last time they've made a major, like Randy Moss probably is when they went and traded for Randy Moss. That's probably the biggest splash that they've had just to bring an outsider into a Bill
Yeah.
Belichick team, because usually he does build within
Antonio Brown lasted a game, I think.
the yeah. So the best thing I saw this week was that it's a Patriots fan saying, "I can't wait for the Patriots to tank, get the number one draft pick in the draft this year, and then trade it for 14 seventh round draft picks." Like that would just be so Bill Belichick. I laughed when I saw that.
That way doesn't seem to be working right now, right? It's time to move
Well, he's
on.
gone. He can't stay there anymore. Like I don't think he wants to stay there anymore. And at some point, you just have to move on. You have to say, "Hey, coach, before you die, like metaphorically or like theoretically, your career starts going down and you're a laughing stock. We're going to cut ties with you. We're going to kind of like put you out of your misery so that you don't have to be here and hear all this from the once great. We don't ever want to hear once great. You always want to be the great, not the once great. That means you're on a decline." Yeah. So he's got to go. They need a whole reset in New England and a whole reset with the Chargers. Both those teams. Now, okay, let's talk about the big news of this year. It's quarterback injuries. We had another one. Trevor Lawrence, high ankle sprain, week to week. Seems like he's going to be done for the season. No one's really saying because everyone wants to be positive. Didn't look good. As soon as he started standing up, starting to walk, he went back down, pounded the ground with his fist, took his helmet off, threw it across the field. So, and then all the players, like the wide receiver that was standing beside him, also fell to his knees and was like, "Oh no, like that's our season. This guy is our season." The guy that tackled him on who did they play? The Texans? No, the Bengals.
Bengals, yeah.
Yeah. The guy in the Bengals who tackled him looked at him and was like, "Oh crap. What did I do? Like I just hurt a guy that's like the face of the league almost right now, because he's the only guy left." So that's the year of the backup quarterback is what I'm getting at. The Jaguars are probably done without Lawrence, right? Like they're going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to win a game if he doesn't play. We can agree on that.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough.
So two things I got. This is the whole thing of what I'm trying to say is where the fuck was the golf cart in Jacksonville to take Trevor Lawrence off the field? Like the coach and a police officer had to carry him off the field all the way from where he fell into the locker room through the tunnels. Like there's no reason your franchise quarterback out of all the golf carts that are probably in Florida, they couldn't find one for the guy.
Can I make a guess?
Where was it?
Christian Kirk got injured earlier.
And he's just still riding around on it? They just took him right out of the building?
They probably just parked it somewhere, like not thinking. Guy walked away from it, and there was nobody there to drive it back.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what? That's probably the most logical reason of to what actually
it's just
happened.
It's a bonehead move.
It's such a Jacksonville move. They have a swimming pool, but they can't get their quarterback into the dressing room.
Yeah.
That's insane.
What I feel like they're going to do is they're just going to try him out. And it's probably one of those things where they're optimistic that, hey, maybe he can just tough it out and play. And it's probably going to just be too much of a crutch for it's going to be too hard for him. It's going to affect his game too much. He's not going to be able to get his balance. He's not going to be able to shift his weight properly. He's not just going to be able to make the throws. And it's like an unfortunate ending to a
very well for all of us. Like you and I were starting to get on board with this Jacksonville team. Like all of us are suffering because of this. It just the whole NFL with all these quarterbacks, like so Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, who else has been going down? Like Anthony Richardson, all these guys are going out. There's not many guys left. Now, before I get into that point, there is the AFC. So the Jaguars are 8-4. The Colts are 7-5. Like, yeah, the Jaguars have to win. Like, they need Trevor Lawrence to play immediately. They can't do the thing that David Carr said about Jalen Hurts, where it was like maybe they rest him for 3 games, make him ready for playoffs, because they lose 3 games, they're out of the playoff picture. This AFC, like the Texans aren't even in a playoff spot right now at 7-5, which is wild. Okay, so the point I was trying to make,
I got a new one of why maybe Derek Carr believes that stuff.
David Carr, yeah.
That's what I said, David Carr.
Derek Carr, but that's okay.
Let's get the
you just love Derek Carr so much.
Let's get the recording back out. I said David Carr.
You'll hear it. You'll hear it tomorrow.
He in his career, he wasn't very great.
No, he was awful.
Probably just heard that from his coaches. No. This is the smarter move. We got to rest you, and we're going to put this other guy in. So he thinks, okay, yeah, coach is right, coach is right. That's the good move. That's the good franchise move to do. So he thinks it's a better move just because he was constantly getting benched in place to put in other guys when he was able to play.
He was always on a bad team, and they're like, you know what? We're going to wait till the team's good before you play. We're going to wait till the team's good for you play. And his team never got good, and he just all of a sudden evaporated. He was one of the biggest busts in the NFL. Okay, so the point here I'm going with is all these backup quarterbacks getting a chance this season to start. We often see guys kind of revive their careers by being a backup for 2 or 3 games during injury. Who this year has the best chance to win a starting role with a team that maybe needs a quarterback next year?
Oh,
Like who we got?
think about this. Start firing off some names here.
Well, we got Bailey Zapp, Mitch Trubisky, CJ
No,
Beathard is the new guy. Joe
the
Flacco.
Bengals guy.
So that is, I'm glad you said that. I got 2 guys that I think can absolutely do it. I don't consider Josh Dobbs a backup right now because he started the season as a starter in Arizona. He's been a starter pretty much every game.
I disagree with that. He started the season as a starter due to the fact that Kyler Murray was injured.
Well,
Kyler Murray
no one knew Kyler Murray. Everybody knew Kyler Murray wasn't going to play until week 10. So their starting quarterback to start the season was Josh Dobbs. Okay, so then we can even include Dobbs in this then. But Jake Browning, who was the Bengals, came in to play for Joe Burrow, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, making 75% of his pass completions. That guy, I agree. If he continues to play and the Bengals make the playoffs this year, then he will get a starting job somewhere in the NFL, no doubt in my mind. The other guy who's been around for a while that is very much a fan favorite in the United States of America, especially Gardner Minshew for the Colts. Just what he's done already, probably he's going to get a starting job somewhere in the NFL, no?
I can see that, but I also feel like his history will catch up to him again.
Maybe not this year. Like he might be what Nick Foles
he might
was.
finish
Nick
the
Foles
year
comes
doing
in.
pretty strong.
Exactly.
He gets another chance as a starter.
Oh, I'll never say that.
Team.
Yeah, I'm not even talking like I'm assuming that anyone who gets a job next year and it was a backup this year is going to be bad next year because you have videotape that people can watch. Then you have kind of tendencies that you always do that are going to start backfiring on you. Like teams will watch. So I don't expect them any of them to have good careers. Maybe Jake Browning because I think is he not a rookie?
I think he's young enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but Gardner Minshew for sure is a perfect example of a guy who's going to use this year where he has taken a team to the playoffs. They're going to go back to Anthony Richardson. So Minshew's going to leave. He'll go to, let's say, I don't know, somebody that needs a starting quarterback and he'll start, but I don't think he'll do well. But I think those are the 3 guys that we got. Like Minshew and Browning play each other this week. The Bengals and the Colts play each other this week. So that'll be interesting, actually.
Yeah.
But
remind me, who's the Jaguars backup?
CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while as well. He's not good at playing football. No, he is not good at playing football. But I mean, like Baker Mayfield is the guy who did it last year, came in and backed up Matthew Stafford, then came in and just like played two or 3 good games. Someone saw something in him. Now he's the starter for the Bucs. I got to go with, I think it's going to be Gardner Minshew for next year. I think someone picks him up, maybe the Bucs, and starts him. Maybe the Falcons picks him up. I just don't think it'll work out. But that's kind of like, there's so many examples of how that or that of that happening again this year. I wonder how Jameis Winston's
personally. I don't think anybody has made enough of an impact that you're going to say, okay, this guy could seriously be a legit starter for a couple seasons, right? Like have a full-time starter role, not just a trial starter role.
Yeah, I think the guy that is Browning for the Bengals. If the Bengals, if he could take,
he's young enough, right? He's young enough,
Yeah.
and he was in a situation where he's to sit back and learn because you're not going to start over Burrow. It's not going to happen. There's no competition for that starting spot. It's his spot until
and they just paid him too.
Able to play
exactly. So he has the best chance to go somewhere and be great. Now, Joe Flacco, the opposite of Browning, very old, came back in for the Browns this past weekend, played very well, extremely well. Now, the Browns yesterday put him back on the practice squad, which means that he can sign anywhere else. I don't understand that move because with all the backup quarterbacks in the league right now and people being very desperate to like playoff contenders being desperate to keep winning, putting Joe Flacco after a game like that back in the practice squad, it's very odd to me.
If they weren't in the playoff hunt, I'd understand it that, hey, we just want to develop our other QBs. But for the fact that they are in the playoff hunt and think like we need a guy to be our most reliable guy in the playoffs, it seems kind of odd. Like it seems like you want to just keep the veteran guy around to.
Well, for especially the way he just played, like, and the injuries they got, like the two guys they have are
PJ Walker and
but they're not like they're not confident, right? I'm not confident in them to win any games, but yeah, like I don't know. You put him on the practice squad and someone else picks him up, like that could be the end of your season. Unless they truly believe that he wasn't good, or maybe he's not getting along in the dressing room, or maybe he's already being causing tension with like the coaches that want him to run a different system or something. I don't know. I just thought it was a very, very, very weird move. Now on the other side of something like that, the Cardinals released Zach Ertz so that he can go play for a contender. Do you see a spot for him to go?
Well, I would have thought the Ravens, like it kind of timed out, but they came out and said no.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense though, with Mark Andrews being injured for the rest of the season. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, maybe they have that kid Isaiah Likely. Maybe they believe in him, but I'd rather have Zach Ertz.
Yeah, you'd think you just want a veteran guy who's a little bit reliable to be in the depth chart.
1,000%.
Especially seeing that you just lost a guy, but maybe Zach Ertz doesn't have what he's kind of disappeared in Arizona just because they've been so relevant a while. Maybe after analysis, these teams are looking at him as like, hey, he doesn't have what he used to have. He's obviously not where he was when he was in Philly, like at his peak.
Yeah.
But how much does he have in the tank to contribute to a team? I think somebody would want him because having a good tight end is huge. Like, look at the Lions right now. Look at how much of a difference
it's a game changer
Laporta makes for them.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a good tight end, that's an offensive tight end like that, it changes your whole game around.
I know. It's very odd to me that someone wouldn't pick him up. Like maybe the Seahawks even. Who's starting at the Seahawks tight end spot? Like they could use him. They're trying to make the playoffs right now. They're not in a spot, but they could get him. Maybe the Rams. I know the Rams have Higbee, but why not? Like, why not have Zach Ertz just raring to go, like practicing with you, getting ready to go? Like Jimmy Graham just scored a touchdown for the Saints last weekend. Like it's still like these guys can still do something.
How is he still around?
Jimmy Graham, I don't know. Did he play for the Seahawks last year?
I don't know if it was last year, but yeah, he was in the Seahawks.
The Packers could use a Zach Ertz. Like I don't know who's playing tight end for the Packers these days, but they could use him. The Steelers, they got Freiermuth, but I don't know, maybe get another guy in there. I don't know. I don't know why any of these teams don't pick him up. The Colts, they could use a Zach Ertz. Very strange. Do you think he signs with anybody? Do you think anyone will pick him up? Like
soon? I think he goes somewhere. I think so.
I hope so. It'd be interesting to see.
I don't know if he'll get a contender. I think he'll go somewhere. But how eager is this guy to play?
That's what I mean. It's like I don't know if it's either to a team that's going to compete for a playoff spot or
because it could be the phone might be ringing and it's bottom teams or
like the Raiders,
top teams, and they're just not answering, right?
Yeah, or the Jets or somebody. Okay. Do you want to talk briefly about Roger Goodell trying to ban the tush push permanently?
Where do you stand on? I think everybody knows the story. I don't think we need to explain what it is.
I don't know why. I know there's plays that have been banned before, but like there's only one team that can do this. So like just stop them, and it's over. This whole thing's over if you just stop them, right? The Eagles are the only team that can do it.
How do you stop them though? Because teams are trying to stop them. I don't think it's a thing of
so just because they're good at something, they got to be penalized for it.
I think it's silly. The reasoning behind it is a very NFL business move to try to make the games more interesting.
But they're only doing it when they need a yard or 2 yards. They're not doing it every play.
I get it. I agree. I don't personally think it should be banned at this time. There's nothing to me that says it should be banned. I'm not seeing guys getting hurt on it.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it really slowing down the game to a crawl where it's no longer interesting. it's become a predictable thing where you can prepare for it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think you're penalizing one team for doing something well, for having a strength.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Just put more defensive linemen out there. Just get bigger and lower and stop them.
Yeah, it'll eventually get figured out too, right? And some of those Eagles guys, maybe like Kelsey, how much longer is he going to be there? How many
Yeah,
more years can they be doing this?
well, Kelsey wanted to retire last year, and he only came back because they lost that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So yeah, this might be they might not have to ban it because this might be the last year that's actually effective.
Yeah, it could just kind of die out on its own.
Yeah, but the Eagles have a new play. Have you seen the new play that they have now?
What's the new one?
It's they just get their security staff member to get one of the better players on the other team kicked out, and then they don't have to worry about anything.
What do you think about that one? You think the guy was completely in the wrong, or
I think he jumped the gun. Yes, I think that what he did is something that anybody on the sidelines would do from the Eagles. Is like, okay, well, it's just he tried to separate the guys. I think he himself jumped the gun. If he was a team, like a member of the team, I don't think this would be an issue at all. I don't think either guy would have got kicked out.
what is
But
he not a
because,
member of the team?
well,
Team
not a
staff,
player,
like
a player,
player. Oh,
a
player.
player.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
like a
A player's
player of the
different
team.
though. A player's very different than any other.
That's what I mean. Is if he even if he was an undressed player, like and he just walked in and said, all right, everybody back here. I don't think that's a thing. But the fact that he wasn't an official Philadelphia Eagles player, or even I don't even know if he'd be considered a member of the team. Um, I think that is why the San Francisco player got kicked out, was because he hit somebody that wasn't a part of football. Now, the
From
loss is
the San
bigger for the
Francisco
49ers.
from the San Francisco player side, I can see his reaction of, for all we know, he doesn't know who he is.
100%.
He just sees a guy dressed, get in his face, and he just reacts, right?
Yeah. And
So I understand from both sides. Because I don't think the guy's intention was malicious. Like, it's not like he went after him as a player. It was pretty clear he was trying to just break up the fight. He didn't throw a punch at the guy. He didn't like shove him out of the way or something, right? It
yeah.
didn't look like it was a malicious intention. It looked like it's just breaking up a thing on the sidelines. I understand, hey, you got involved in a play, like we're just gonna, to settle, to cool all heads, we're gonna kick you both out. I get it from the referee side. I don't think what he did was atrocious. Like, there's no place for that sort of thing. I get it. Maybe think twice before getting involved.
I also don't think either of them should have been kicked out.
No, it didn't.
Like the easy way to stop this whole situation is just to be like, all right, everybody calm down, go back to your own sidelines. Because basically he came in and then the player, Dre Greenlaw, I think was the guy's name.
Yeah.
He kind of just shoved it back and was like, who are you? Why are you involved? Like, get out of here.
Just give him a little shove to the face. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that, it literally, and he barely touched his face too. It's just like, get out of here. I don't know you. Who are you even part of the team? Like, he could have just been a fan for all he knows. So I don't think he should have been kicked out for that at all. And then if anyone, Dom should have been told, like, hey, maybe to stand back. There's no reason for you to be as close to the field as you are. I just find it funny that they talked about him in the first quarter.
When you're on the sidelines, you're on the sidelines, and it happened to happen in front of him, right? He didn't come running 30 yards down the sideline to do it, right? Like,
I think it was a
just
nothing
naturally
thing.
occur right in front of him. I understand the kicking of guys out. Sometimes they do it because they can see that this game is going to get heated, and they're trying to stop that before it happens.
I agree. I don't think
they don't want it to boil over.
I don't think that this was that.
No, I think they could have let it go.
Yeah, I think they jumped the gun a little bit on that one.
Yeah. But I could also see the NFL kind of making a new ruling about who's like an official team member and what, like, who can get involved. Because if that was the coach, outside of like a coach or a coordinator, if that was a coach or a coordinator that stepped in to try to break things up, I don't think anybody does anything. And I also don't think he gets shoved in the face. But if you shove the coach in the face, that'd be a little bit different. I could see Greenlaw getting kicked out and the coach staying, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the fact that, yes, I 100% agree. If he was a coach,
but even if it was a trainer, if it was an athletic trainer or something, I can see it being the same situation as the head of security or whatever he is, right?
Well, remember in the Packers-Lions game at the end of the year last year, the
They put the
The
medical staff.
Lions, yeah, the Lions training staff guy came in, and
That was
the
a very different situation
no,
though,
he definitely
because
should have been kicked out for that. Like you
yeah,
can't.
that was just there was an injured guy on the field,
Yeah,
and the medical staff was attending to him, and he got shoved out of the way. Like the
yeah.
Packers guy, it was just that was a classless move.
Oh yeah, that was the
You know,
second
that was
time
a very
doing.
one-sided, malicious intention move.
Yeah. Well, especially after everything that happened with DeMar Hamlin like 2 weeks earlier, like you just can't be pushing training staff guys that are trying to run into to help a player.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the Dom head of security thing
Likely
because
nothing, but
well, here's the weird thing is, do you remember a couple weeks ago, Tyreek Hill did a celebration where he like took a guy's like a sideline photographer's phone and like took photos, and the
yeah,
sideline photographer did this. That guy got fired
yeah.
by the NFL for just doing that. So if they're going to fire the guy for just being part of a celebration that he did not choose to be a part of, Tyreek Hill ran to him because they know each other, they're friends.
I think the argument there was he had a camera, like an NFL like camera for photography. He used the phone. Why was his phone out like that?
Well, he's a social media guy.
I get it, but he had a camera. Like you can take the footage from your camera. That's what the NFL is paying him for, right?
So do you think
Like
that
his camera,
right?
his phone is personal. He
So
did
he's taking
also, he was
personal.
holding, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he was holding a camera for
Yeah, no,
recording.
he's a photographer for the NFL. Yeah,
Yeah, or videographer or something.
yeah.
Um, the fact that he's using his personal phone at the same time he had it out like that, that's like, like a personal interest type. That I think that was their argument. Personally, I think it was it was stupid for the NFL because the NFL also used the footage and
That's what I mean.
promoted it.
Yeah,
Like it's a classic NFL like double standard thing. I think it's silly, but that's their reasoning behind it, right? Why is your personal phone out recording at the time?
I guess. I mean, he is a TikTok guy, and he works specifically for Tyreek Hill and a couple other guys on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He only works Dolphins games. Like, I just thought it was weird to suspend him or fire him or something. Like, just fine him and be like, "Hey, you can't fucking be doing this shit." Like, to go just to fire him. Like, so that's what I think. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with Dom, head of security of the Eagles, but like, the NFL gets themselves in
I assume
sticky
nothing
situations
because
like
I
this.
don't think
I
what
also
he
assume
did.
nothing. Yeah,
He didn't attack a player. If he attacked a player, it'd be a different situation.
yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. All right, let's move on from the Eagles. Zach Wilson's going to start for the Jets again this week. It came out that he didn't want to, but
I think that was blown out of proportion. I
I
think that was
agree.
some reporter because if you're in the NFL and you don't want to play, I feel like you're gone so quick,
Oh
especially
yeah,
in a situation like that where this is not a guy with 3 Super Bowls, an MVP trophy who can kind of make demands. This is
yeah.
a guy that's hanging on by a thread. And if your mentality becomes not even just for the team, if your mentality becomes, I don't want to play, your career is going to be done so quick. You don't have that dog in you anymore. You
No,
don't have that fight in you. Like you've just basically thrown in the towel yourself. So I think maybe there was just some discussion of like, how are we going to go about this? And it got blown into like, oh, he's hesitant. He doesn't want to play.
I bet you it was something easily as simple and innocent as like some reporters being in the room when coach is like, "Hey Zach, we want you to start again this week," and him going, "Ah, fuck, people aren't going to like that," and like just like a one-off joke that everyone's like, "Oh, he doesn't want to play. He doesn't think that
It
he's
doesn't seem
going to
like he
play."
makes jokes.
Well, he...
I don't think he's got a sense of humor. Not from what I've seen. I could be wrong, but I don't
we
think
don't
so.
know though. That's
No.
what you're going to say. You're going to take that take. But they released Tim Boyle today, the guy that started the last two games for him. They're like, "Fuck this guy." They just got rid of him, cut him. They signed Brett Ripien, the Seattle Seahawks once upon a time backup. That team's a mess. I don't know what's going to go on in the Jets. Their offense is just garbage. Nothing's
Yeah,
going to happen. It's a full rebuild or not rebuild, but just wait until next year. Not rebuild, just wait until next year.
yeah. I
Yeah.
brought it up before. I worry that it's gonna mess with the psyche of some of their offensive players. Just
Oh, for sure. But everyone's just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to come back.
yeah, but the waiting game isn't always great in
Well, that's why I think
young players' developments like that.
So it doesn't seem like Aaron's going to play this year. The more news that comes out, it's like about him is just like he's not going to suit up. He's not going to suit up. Um,
It'd be a miracle, right?
well, that's why I think he's not actually hurt. Is if he does come back, it's like, oh, he's not hurt. But um, if he doesn't come back, then I can kind of buy the whole Achilles heel situation. But let's move on because we've talked about that way too much. Everyone's lost confidence in the Jets a long time ago. Team that's losing confidence now, everyone who's losing confidence, especially Taylor Swift, maybe, is Kansas City. Is this team?
I don't know if Taylor Swift would be, because the story that came out, and I don't know when it came out, I saw it like a couple of weeks ago, is Travis Kelce has been wanting to retire for a long time. He's thought about it for a couple seasons now, at least. Maybe Taylor Swift's into that. She gets more time with her guy. Personally, I still think it's a manufactured relationship or whatever for the benefits. But that aside, yeah, you know, like you never like to see that when it comes out that a player doesn't want to be out there as much as he
well,
wants.
I can understand a player being like, I don't know how many seasons I got left.
Yeah.
But if a guy's out there and he's still, it looks like he's still passionate about playing the game and works hard, then it's kind of like, okay, well, he still wants to be there. I don't mind the conversation about retiring. I mean, I'm a Lions fan, so we have dealt with two of the most like biggest retirees out of nowhere, like just like that.
Abrupt. Yeah, the
abrupt. Yeah,
retires,
sorry.
yeah.
Thank you for putting that word in my head. Two of the biggest abrupt retirees in the history of football. So it's going to happen.
Oh, Andrew Luck. You got to throw Andrew Luck in there.
Oh yeah, that's a
pretty abrupt one.
That's a big one. Yeah, he screwed that franchise over real good when he did that. Real good.
He did and he didn't. I mean, he didn't go to it's not like he came back 2 years later to go to another team.
No, but he's still like you'd like to have. It's the same with like Barry and Calvin. Like I get why they did it, and I'm not upset at their reasonings. It's just one of those like as a fan, you're like, shit, I wish we would have drafted differently. I wish we would have, I don't know, had some type of plan. Calvin Johnson, we knew because he was just very much like what Travis Kelce's going through now. Is every offseason, I don't know how much I have left. Yep. Every time they win or lose, it's like I kind of I want my body to be healthy. I want to be able to live a life after football. Now, the Kansas City team being bad goes beyond this because they have no wide receivers, and Kelce's not playing as well as he was the first half of the season. And the refs,
his numbers are definitely not there from the previous seasons.
Now the refs aren't no longer handing them games, but they are sure as shit are trying. They got every call wrong in that Packers Chiefs game. Like in the last 2 minutes, every call was wrong.
I don't know if they are trying though. That was the whole point people were making, is that they didn't win because the refs weren't on their side this time. Like there was one where at the end of the play, Kelce claimed he got pushed. He was pretty irate about it. There was another one a little bit earlier where I think the Packers player was over the like back and shoulder,
like
just jumped on him.
Valdez-Scantling, yeah, jumped right on his back. You're right.
Yeah, so like those would have been crucial ones where. And again, we've just talked about this before. I remember the playoffs last year for Bengals and KC. The last play, which a lot of people said they handed the pass interference to Kansas City to let them win. It's not that it wasn't pass interference. It's the lack of consistency, that the same situation earlier doesn't get called. It gets called sometimes, right? It's just a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
Because refs will always make that human error. Try to be consistent with it. If you're letting it go all game, let it go all game. If you're calling it all game, call it all game, right? It seems to be a very pick and choose time of when they want to play, and it seemed like it didn't line up for Kansas City that way.
No, I mean the refs will always be a conversation every season, but it'll never change.
And you know what? You got to respect Mahomes because he keeps taking on the chin himself, and he admits he's like, I don't think we're playing well if we're in the position where one call, we needed to get one call to have a chance at winning the game, not just it was the win. Like, it's not like the touchdown was pulled back.
No, they needed a touchdown and they would have needed a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, like we needed a chance. We needed that call to get a chance to try and win the game. You're not putting yourself in a good position. It's still a hope and a prayer at that point, right? So he's aware that they're not playing well enough.
You think they're in trouble?
I think they
8-4, third place in the AFC.
With him when your quarterback is as reliable as a quarterback as you could have in the NFL in the last X number of years, you always have a chance. But it's not looking good for a deep run for me. I don't think this is their year
I
because
don't think it
nothing
is
seems like
either.
it's going to change.
The only thing that this is the shitty part is that if quarterback injuries continue to happen, I feel like this is a year where the Chiefs just walk into the Super Bowl and win based off injury. Like, so the Colts are on their backup quarterback, the Browns are on their backup quarterback, the Steelers are on their backup quarterback. Those are three playoff teams in the AFC right now. The Jaguars are on their backup quarterback. The only three healthy quarterbacks, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
So and Tua, two quarterbacks, Ravens, Dolphins, Mahomes, and then you can say CJ Stroud and the Texans, who aren't in a playoff spot right now. Man, those are two quarterbacks to rely on be healthy all season that have hard times doing it. Or and then
has Miami beat a team with a winning record yet?
They beat the Bills, didn't they? That's not a winning record. No, but this like injury wise, like they could if Tua gets hurt or Lamar gets hurt, then Mahomes just walks in. He just walks in to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It could happen.
It's like I don't want it to happen. I very much want to see a Ravens Dolphins AFC championship. I think that'd be amazing.
That would be good, yeah. I do like the Ravens this year. I am on the bandwagon.
Or the Texans at this point. I just need to see a healthy quarterback in the AFC championship.
So I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory for the week.
Okay, here we
go. The QB thing. What's the one thing that a lot of fans have been complaining about in the last few years? The NFL is getting soft. With all these things to protect the quarterbacks, the NFL is getting soft, right? Oh, like what are these calls we're making?
Yep.
And I don't know if statistically there's more injuries or so this year. It seems like it, but it seems to be the top of the headlines. It seems to be highlighted a lot. I think the NFL is using this opportunity to justify all these changes they make to protect the quarterback. Hey, you don't want quarterbacks protected? Well, you're going to have a lot more Bailey Zappies out there and a lot less Trevor Lawrences and Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Those are such fluke injuries too, though. Like that. That's the thing is like these quarterbacks aren't getting hit that hard. It's scripted. All the quarterbacks just taking a year off is scripted.
Oh. No, I know it's fluke injuries. Guys landing on the legs, the ACL tears,
but you're not wrong. Like we can't have quarterbacks. The product on the field is so much better when you have all your quarterbacks healthy.
No, I don't think the NFL is making the injuries happen. I don't think they've got gremlins in the field pulling a guy's ankles and stuff. But I think they're going to use the opportunity to justify a lot of the rule changes they want to protect quarterbacks.
That goes against my conspiracy from a few weeks ago that they're using this so that they can go back to the violent NFL that people loved.
Oh yeah, who knows?
Go either way. Okay, we got two things left. Then we got to start getting into the this week's. Oh, three things left, but I'm just gonna say two real quick. Rest in peace to the season for Tank Dell. That sucks because he was very much one of our favorite guys coming up on the year this year, rookie. He'll be back hopefully stronger than ever because he's got a long career ahead of him. Super fun guy to watch.
I do got to say a very bright shining star for that Texans team is how in the game, especially when he goes down, how Nico Collins stepped it up.
Yeah, he's good too.
That is like a very bright future for that Texans team. That this is going to be a good offensive, exciting team.
I mean, hopefully the Steelers and Browns start falling down so that Texans team can get in the playoffs. I would love to see the Texans and CJ Stroud in the playoffs. I think that'd be awesome. We just talked about this Packers Chiefs game. Man, Jordan Love is actually probably pretty good.
Why wouldn't he be?
I know.
He's that there is a path that a quarterback has to take, and he's maybe it's a little bit slower than others.
But that's how you get a Hall of Fame career. You don't need to start off hot. Peyton Manning didn't. Aaron Rodgers didn't. Just like learn and build and learn and build and learn and build. That's all you got to do. So I'm very terrified that Jordan Love is going to be a good quarterback, specifically because he's in my division and they are in a playoff spot right now. The Vikings and the Packers are both in a playoff spot right now. The NFC North went from very shitty with just the Lions kind of running through it to now there's 2 6-6 teams. We could have 3 above 500 teams from the NFC North in the playoffs. Kind of crazy to hear about. They're the new NFC East.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, real quick, the bonehead play that you want to talk about, because I can see you smiling right now. So go for it.
Oh, you feel for the guy, but sometimes that's the lighter side of sports, right? That Tyler Boyd interception.
Yeah.
What
When
the
he tried
hell happened on that one?
I think that was the play, and he was like, I don't know what else to do. Theoretically, he should have just ran the ball forward.
But it wasn't a good throw either.
No, he threw it right to the guy.
But it was also like, like a childhood lob, right? Like he didn't.
No, but it was
He
also
didn't
like
put any mustard on it.
he looked at the guy and then went, I shouldn't throw this ball. And then he looked at the guy again and said, I really shouldn't throw this ball. And then he threw the worst pass ever to the guy in front of the guy he was trying to go to. Like you could see in his face, he was like, I guess I'll just throw it. It was bad.
It was bad.
It
was a bonehead move. It reminded me kind of like the blunder. It didn't have as much of an impact on the game, but that Jacoby Myers throw last year, trying to get it back to Mac Jones when Chandler Jones crushed him.
Oh yeah, and then ran it back for a touchdown
to win the game at the end. Like they could have just not thrown it back 25 yards, right?
That was last year's biggest boneheaded play of the year, probably, right? Okay, let's get into the games this week. What do you have as? Let's start with the bad game of the week. What is the bad team game of the week?
You can take your pick. The NFC South. The NFC South is playing itself.
They're bad. Like I didn't think
they're not just bad, but their games are. They're not exciting. ATL's got no offense. There's no throwing. The run game has died down. Like, do you remember Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, he's supposed to be the next big thing.
What the hell happened? It's like,
well, he's learning from Kyle Pitts, who was also the next big thing, who does nothing on that offense.
Carolina's got nothing. They're in a bad coaching situation, a bad management situation. They're playing New Orleans. New Orleans, I thought they actually did well to make the game exciting against the Lions last week.
Well, it could have went the other way. It was within the first 5 minutes, it was 21-0. The Lions really beefed it.
Yeah, but again, the Lions also never were trailing at any point either.
Right.
So it was always New Orleans kind of fighting to claw back.
Yeah.
But they did a good job of actually putting in some points and doing well. So I think they're kind of the most exciting team in terms of actually can make some nice plays to watch in that game. And again, Tampa's kind of, you still got Baker at the helm. Mike Evans will always make a few catches. He could be good for a few highlight reel plays.
Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Overall,
but, I mean, the Falcons are 6-6.
Division.
Falcons are 6-6, leading the division, and then the Saints and the Bucks are 5-7. Like this game matters for those three teams. Panthers,
for sure,
they just trying to get a win.
And as much as you think this has happened 2 seasons in a row now, as much as you think that, hey, these should be almost playoff atmosphere games because you're fighting for so much, they don't seem to come out and put in exciting games. I'm not going to say that they're easy to win because, like when your team's struggling, wins are hard to come by. But from a fan perspective, they're just not exciting, not fun games to watch. Nobody cares about this division.
That Falcons-Buccaneers game in Atlanta, that should be a playoff atmosphere. Everybody at that game, like that is a playoff spot atmosphere.
Whoever wins could potentially take over the.
I'm not even going to watch highlights to that game.
No, nobody cares.
Just zero interest.
Because whoever makes the playoffs isn't making a.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. It's a free win for whoever they play.
Yeah. Now the game of the week, this one. After last week, KC, I don't know if it's as exciting on paper, but it's still, because of the history behind him, this should be a good game. Buffalo needs the win. Yeah. KC is coming off a loss. Buffalo KC should be the game of the week. These two have had a lot of exciting matches over the last couple of years. There's a lot of history between the players on these current teams. So much so that they actually had to change the rules of the league for Josh Allen.
Because of this game.
Because of their team. Now, coincidentally, Josh Allen is still 0-5, I believe, in OT in his career. So even though they changed the rules for him, he's never won a game, but maybe this is a chance.
Yeah, had to start somewhere. This should be a good game. And I mean, the biggest point about this game is that both the starting quarterbacks that are franchise players are still healthy in this game.
Yeah.
Now, I got another game for you, a game of the week, and that's the Sunday night game, Cowboys versus Eagles. That's going to be for first place in the NFL almost by the end of the year. So both these games are very much have everything to do with playoffs. Cowboys, Eagles are going to be fighting for the division and possibly a first round bye. Chiefs are going to be fighting to keep their season on track. Bills are fighting just to make the playoffs now. But I mean, there's some other good games here, like the Seahawks Niners. Doesn't seem like it'd be a good game on paper because
If
the
the
Niners
Cowboys win, if the
bankroll
Cowboys
everybody.
win, which I could see the Cowboys win. If the Cowboys do win, although Cowboys are also one of those teams they don't beat strong teams. They don't have a lot
Yeah.
of wins against um does that really mess with the confidence of Philly
Oh, for sure.
moving forward?
This is a huge rivalry. Like,
Oh yeah.
it'll mess a lot with the fans' confidence in the Eagles specifically because if Jalen Hurts plays at like 75% or 50%, everyone's going to be in panic mode. Everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, other games where the guy like Jaguars, Browns, two
Well,
backup
it
quarterbacks,
depends.
but like, that's for a playoff spot as well.
Lawrence is guaranteed out?
Yeah, he's not playing.
Yeah, okay.
And then Colts, Bengals, also for the playoffs. But like, I mean, the Colts are exciting. Gardner Minshew's kind of salvaged that season. He's made it exciting. We talked about him earlier. Jake Browning could make this game good, like, but that's a huge game as well. Like, that's a massive, massive playoff implication game. Like, all those games are great. We got a shitty game Thursday night. We have a very shitty game after people listen to this. The Patriots Steelers. We're going Bailey Zappi versus Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh. Like, apparently the over under on this it's 29.5. That's the lowest it's been since like 2005.
I'm taking the Steelers. One of my picks of the week here is the Steelers because
Okay.
I got no faith in the Patriots anymore. I don't think there's anything going there. Steelers are at least fighting for playoffs.
Could this game be tied 0-0 going into overtime?
Oh man.
Like, this game could potentially be tied 0-0 going into overtime.
Do you think the NFL would just stop broadcasting the game, put on Seinfeld reruns or something? Like,
I would prefer that. I'm excited for whenever Al Michaels, who's the Thursday night commentator, whenever he has a bad quarterback matchup, he just shits on the game for 3 hours. So if anything, like, you could just put in like, you don't have to watch the game, but just put it on so that you can listen to Al Michaels complain about why he always has to commentate a really shitty game. He had a great one last week, though.
He's kind of the opposite of Chris Collinsworth, where Chris Collinsworth is all he's doing is praising Pat Mahomes the entire game, regardless of anything he does.
Don't get me started. I hate Chris Collinsworth. He's the most annoying commentator in the history of sports. Everything he says is stupid. Everything he says is stupid. I can't stand him. Okay, so you got Steelers. I got the Saints over the Panthers in New Orleans. Saints are -5.
Hey, your theory on the Panthers didn't work out last week. That the interim head coach 151-30 wins to losses ratio career in lifetime in the NFL.
Done. Record over. Busted. What's your next game?
I got the Texans. Taking the Texans. I'm following up all that high energy that they're coming back and they're winning.
They're playing the Jets in New York. They're 4-point favorites. Yeah. I like that pick.
Who's
another low?
Who's going to do something for the Jets?
Zach Wilson maybe. No, Brees Hall's lost his mojo. Garrett Wilson has no one to throw in the ball. Like, that whole team's a disaster.
Robert Saleh looks so stressed. He just looks like he's like, what do you want me to tell you, people? Like, everyone knows the situation. Stop asking me questions. Like, there's
but that's the thing is, like, everybody knows the situation. So why is he still getting bothered with this stuff? Like, we lost our best player.
People expect teams to do something. Like, it seems, again, the same thing I was complaining about the Patriots. It seems like they sat a little bit too idly by, knowing that none of these guys are working. Why not try? Why not bring in Joe Flacco? Why not bring in this guy? You got Simeon. We never saw Simeon play. Why do we keep just accepting defeat?
They did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. They could have easily brought Carson Wentz in or Joe Flacco as soon as Rodgers went down and said, Luke Wilson's going to be our starter for the next 3 games until we can get someone else up to speed, or he proves. Did I say Luke Wilson?
You said Luke Wilson.
Oh,
I don't know if you meant the actor or the
the
former
actor
tight
for
end.
sure. The former tight end is a piece of shit. Um, the I just don't like him on Sports Center. I think he's annoying as shit. He should cut his hair too. The what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then Zach Wilson either competes for 3 games and earns the spot, or you go to Carson Wentz or Joe Flacco when they're up to speed. Like they did it to themselves. It's so stupid. My next pick, I got the Colts, who are 1-point favorites over the Bengals in Cincinnati. I think Gardner Minshew can hold off that for a win, still without Jonathan Taylor this week.
I'm taking the Eagles. I think they bounce back.
Man,
Dallas hasn't beaten a strong team with a strong record. I'm backing the Eagles on this one.
So the beginning of when we started recording the early weeks of this season, you were always taking heavy favorites. You just took another underdog.
Because I was running away with the picks score. Like I got the picks running total at the bottom.
You're only up by 4.
I was running away with it. And it was like, okay, like I could take the heavy favorite. We're only making 3 picks every week. I could just, keep getting 3 for 3 or whatever. Just challenge myself. Like, why run away with it? And so I at least started taking little closer games.
See, there you go. That's all I had to do. So in that game, the Cowboys.
I just made sure I got a commanding lead first, and then I finished the season competitive.
You're gonna lose it though.
I don't even know why we do the picks. We used to do the picks because we had the sports betting sponsor.
Well, I still do the picks because that's what gambling. Everybody people only listen to gambling.
Nobody listens to us. Nobody gambles with us, and you and I don't gamble.
I wonder if there's someone out there that's like following along with our picks and making like good money.
How could they? We don't get that many picks right.
I mean, we're both above 500.
Right.
That's good.
They're betting just individual.
Well, maybe
games.
they're just not. Yeah, maybe
they're betting individual games where we're usually taking the favorites. So they're not.
Or they're doing opposites of us on certain games.
Right.
Okay, so that's the Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites in Dallas. My last pick is I'm going Broncos over the Chargers. So it's in Los Angeles. The Chargers are 3-point favorites. Why? Why are the Chargers 3-point favorites?
Home field.
So Broncos are a better team than them. And is it home field in Los Angeles? Like for the Rams, maybe yes, but the Chargers, the other team usually outfans the Chargers fans. So Broncos, hit them hard.
Vegas knows something.
Hard. Hammer the Broncos. Hammer the Broncos this weekend. Anything else you gotta say before we go?
No. How are the Lions looking this week? Any news on the Lions?
They play the Bears. Lions don't do well against running quarterbacks. Justin Fields is a very, very good running quarterback. So I am worried about this game.
The Bears had him tilting last time they played.
I know. Against running quarterbacks, we don't know how to stop them. We don't. They just run all over us. We're only 3.5-point favorites in Chicago. So that means we'd be 6.5-point favorites in Detroit. But I don't know. I'm very concerned about this game. Very concerned. I'm not going to pick a winner. I just hope for the best.
Is it 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
It's always 10.
Yeah. They're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to Running Down the Clock. We will be back next week. Have a good weekend.
Hey, if you're a fan of Formula One, then I've got the perfect podcast for you. The Pit Stop Podcast, presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. After every single race of the Formula One schedule, Jordan and Tyler will break it down, give you some news, analysis, insight, before answering your questions and setting you up for the next race. That's the Pit Stop Podcast, available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Running Down the Clock is brought to you by the Ordinary Podcast Network and is every Thursday running until the week after the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoyed enough to subscribe and tune in again next week.